his door. And he said, I'll tell you, never say I'll never. He said, because when I was in high school, I was working in a grocery store, and the one job I hated the most was running the floor cleaners. I hated cleaning floors. And when I left there and went to work at another place, I said, I'll never clean floors again. And he says, here I am doing this. He said, so I advise you, it's much better to say, if given a choice, I won't do this again. But sometimes you don't. And that's the same thing here. They're trying to trap in his own words. Get him to say something that they can use to bring, because we know they're looking for the opportunity to condemn Jesus, turn the crowd against him. And they're hoping maybe, they can stir this up, because there have been other, prophets or supposed prophets who call themselves Messiah, who come in and they want to throw the Roman authorities out. But, Jesus hasn't been that way. And then you notice, they didn't go themselves, they sent their followers and the Herodians. Now, the Herodians are the supporters of Herod. That would be like sending the Republicans and Democrats together to confront somebody. Two groups of people who don't get along have joined common cause to do something. And, they ask him this question about, and you notice it's always, whenever somebody starts out with a compliment, do you get a little wary? Because usually when somebody starts out being really nice to you, there's something coming. They're wanting something, whatever. And you can tell it, they talk all you teach God's way as it really is. You're not swayed by people's opinion. You don't show favoritism. And then they ask that question, does the law allow people to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Now they're referring to Jewish law. And there's a whole canon in the Jewish religion of things that are God's and things that are not. And that's what they're saying, is it by our laws, if we're good we're practicing God's law, should we pay taxes to Caesar? And we know from things we've read that was one of the rubs with the Jewish people, was this tax they had to pay to the Roman government. Matthew, who was a tax collector, knows how much people dislike tax collectors. And so, they're trying to use this to trap him. Get him to say something they can use against him. So we're going to pick up verse 18. Knowing their evil motives, Jesus replied, why do you test me, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used to pay the tax. And they brought him a denarius. Whose image and inscription is this? He asked. Caesar's, they replied. Then he said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. And when they heard this, they were astonished, and they departed. So we have Christ look at them and say, they were asking about the tax, and he said, show me a coin. And said that famous, give to Caesar what is Caesar, and God what is God's. Now it leads us to the question, what is God's? What belongs to God? If you think about it, everything. He created it all, we're told. He created the universe. He created each of us. So we all are God's. He recognizes that there are going to be government systems. But that we really treat each other like we recognize the value we have, that we're God's creation. One of the most troubling things about this conflict in the Middle East is hearing some of the things you hear said in the discussion about this. You hear people being called not human. We hear whole groups of people being condemned. And that should trouble us because they're all God's creation. That's not saying horrible things weren't committed by individuals. And those who committed atrocities should be held accountable. God's going to hold them accountable. But I warn us, and it's easy to do, fall into that trap of lumping people together and failing to see them as God's creation. As hard as it is, those are the words of Christ. He tells us to value all. And so I just want to make sure that we guard ourselves